The acts of terrorism that have either failed, been foiled or been successfully executed within the European Union have in large part been categorized by the European police office as either pertaining to religious issues, right-wing, left-wing or separatist movements. The field is subject to considerable cooperation among national authorities. Prevention. European cooperation in the field of counter-terrorism include Europol, an EU agency, and Interpol. Trevi was an early example of EU cooperation in this field. In July 2014, the government of France introduced legislation to combat terrorism by toughening surveillance, making it lawful to detain individuals linked to radical so-called Islamist groups, and to block internet sites that incite anti-Semitism, terrorism and hatred. The country's Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve revealed 600 French nationals were in Syria at the time or planned to go there. The bill includes a ban on foreign travel for up to 6 months for those believed to hold terrorist sympathies, provides for the confiscation and invalidation of passports, and prohibits airlines from allowing such individuals to fly. From 2005, the United Kingdom government introduced the Contest Strategy, which seeks to improve cooperation between security services and other public and private organizations. This includes 4 strands, namely pursue, prevent, protect, and prepare. Similar strategies have been adopted by other countries across the European Union, and there have been increases in cooperation between nations and security forces. History. Trend. Terrorism within the European communities since 1951 has often been linked to separatist movements, notably the Irish Republican Army within the United Kingdom, and Euskadi Ascartes Una within Spain. Other perpetrators have been linked to far-right and far-left extremism, environmental extremism and anarchism. Since 2001, there has been an increase in attacks linked to extremist Islamist groups, particularly in France. The internationally coordinated element has seen increasing attempts by governments to seek to weaken extremist ideology, particularly Islamist extremism. It remains the case that the majority of deaths from terrorism do not occur in the West. When the Al-Qaeda attacks against the United States in 2001 are excluded, only 0.5% of all deaths from terrorism have occurred in Western countries, European nations, United States, Canada and Australia, in the past 15 years. However, there have been recent increases in the number of high-fatality attacks. There had been a decrease in the number of overall fatalities from terrorist attacks between 1990 and 2015, compared to those between 1970 and 1990. Prior to 1990, on average 150 people died each year from terrorist attacks. This figure would be even higher if the large number of people who died in 1988 from the Panama 2013 bombing were included. From 1990, an average of a little under 50 people died each year. However, this figure has begun to increase again from 2011, with the attacks by far-right extremist Anders Breivik and Islamist extremist attacks in France in 2015 and 2016. Europol has published an annual trend report on terrorist attacks and terrorist-related arrests in the EU since 2006. The reports identify that perpetrators known as suspected affiliations have been disparate in nature. Europol break these down into 5 categories: jihadist terrorism, ethno-nationalist and separatist terrorism, left-wing and anarchist terrorism, right-wing terrorism and single-issue terrorism. Europol's reports do not provide a breakdown of the proportion of attacks that have been completed or the type of damage inflicted. According to these data, the vast majority of terrorist attacks in the EU between 2006 and 2013 are affiliated with ethno-nationalist separatist motives, followed by left-wing attacks and those that are registered as unspecified. A significant number of terror attacks are motivated religiously or associated with right-wing groups. However, among those arrested on terror-related crimes, most are religiously motivated and form the largest group, followed by separatist-related terror suspects. In 2015, a total of 211 completed, failed or foiled terrorist attacks were reported by EU states, resulting in 151 fatalities and over 360 people injured. As in previous years, separatist attacks accounted for the largest proportion, followed by jihadist attacks. The latter, however, caused the largest number of fatalities and injuries. The United Kingdom reported the largest number of attacks, but did not provide statistics on suspected affiliation. Tackling jihadist terrorism threats has become an overriding priority for security services. Although many commentators express concerns that the risk of far-right terrorism is currently being underestimated, statistics from 2006 to 2013 by affiliation. List of incidents. This section shows incomplete lists of attacks carried out on land and in aviation, respectively, within the European Union and its preceding communities. Key motivation: Islamic left-wing, right-wing, separatist, nationalist, mafia-related, terrestrial. Key motivation: Islamism, left-wing, right-wing, separatist, nationalist, mafia-related. Aerial bibliography.